It's actually occurring, the impact, of course, is on young children. The greatest rise in poverty is occurring among children under the age of 3. By age 3, stark differences emerge, tracking very closely with family income, and they already show in children's cognitive and verbal abilities. Now think of that by age 3. Just as children are learning to play, the fields on which they play are no longer level, and they're filled with barriers that can easily prove to be insurmountable. Think about that in the context of Janet Soto Rodriguez's life. Think about her starting place, by chance of birth, at the bottom of the statistical heap. About both the tremendous odds she overcame and the extraordinary good she's already accomplished. And then think of all of those who will not have the same good fortune that she's had. So, ladies and gentlemen, recall our core national aspiration of nurturing every single young person in America. We have to face that issue. How do we square the founding promise of this country, equality of opportunity, of meritocracy, based on ability, with a 3-year-old who trails others simply because they've been born poor? Without question, providing much stronger public early education programs is a key that can unlock the door of opportunity, but it's only one piece of a solution that by necessity is complex and interconnected. Our universities must play a leadership role in developing new partnerships, and there's that word again, partnerships, with our public schools and our communities. And I will tell you that our millennial graduate generation of students are, as usual, blazing the path for the rest of us. This generation of students is uniquely matched to solve our most pressing problems. They're diverse, collaborative, fearless, globally oriented, and entrepreneurial, and they're determined to make their mark and make a difference. At colleges across the country, we're seeing strong increases in the numbers of graduating students applying to public service programs, such as the Peace Corps and Teach for America. At Ohio State, students are reaching out in vastly greater numbers in new ways to help their communities. This past year alone, more than 19,000 Ohio State students volunteered their time, their effort, their creativity on behalf of others. Together, they contributed more than 473,000 hours of service. And we're not unique in seeing that happen among this generation. And they do it by contributing to elementary schools around campuses. They do it across oceans. They do it across continents. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I've spoken about higher education's central role in fueling our state's prosperity and sustaining our democracy and ensuring that this country's promise of public education and opportunity extends fully and equally to all of our young people. But I want to conclude my remarks this afternoon with one other story about yet another Ohio State student. And I want to offer up this tale as a way of demonstrating how one individual student can quite literally change the world. Jesse Owens was born in Alabama, grew up here in Cleveland, before coming to Ohio State in the 1930s. And as you may know, at that time, most colleges and universities did not admit African American students. And those which did admit them as students did not treat them equally. Recall that during that time in the North as well as the South, restaurants, hotels, train cars, and public schools were often segregated. For Jesse Owens and for so many others, the indignities were everywhere, every day. At that time, Jesse Owens, the nation's most gifted track athlete and captain of Ohio State's track team, was not permitted to live on our campus. Clearly, this discrimination is agonizing to admit about my university, but it's necessary to understand the reality of Owens' daily life in order to appreciate the true measure of his astonishing accomplishments. For his team, for his university, Jesse Owens won countless meets and set world records. At the age of 21, he competed for his country in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, Germany, as you all know. Although the world didn't yet know the absolute horror that would become the Third Reich, Adolf Hitler had already set in motion the first stages of his crusade of oppression and violence. Less than a year before the Games, he announced the Nuremberg Laws, which stripped Germany's Jewish population of citizenship and deprived them of basic legal status and protection. In the weeks and months leading up to the Olympics, there was much discussion about whether the United States ought to boycott the Games in Berlin, which were widely viewed as a propaganda tool. Even more, there was discussion about whether Jesse Owens ought to do so unilaterally because of his race. In the end, the team and Jesse all sailed to Germany. His performance on the track before a crowd of 100,000 people, including Hitler, was record-shattering brilliance. He was the first American track and field athlete to win 4 gold medals in a single Olympics. Owens' exceptional speed was coupled with an almost poetic sense of motion that made his running seem almost effortless. Equally impressive in retrospect was the way in which he handled himself while under this enormous scrutiny, and that goes beyond physical prowess. Much of the press and the public were building a narrative, a hostile environment for Owens, being insulted by Hitler, who, of course, as you all know, refused to shake his hand. Everywhere he turned, he was asked to comment on how he was being treated at the games. Well, Jesse Owens proved the better of all of that. In life, as on track, he knew he had to remain focused, he had to keep his head up, his shoulders back, and he had to run through the tape at the end of the race. One of the most insightful photographs of Jesse Owens on the cover of Triumph, Jeremy Schaff's biography of Owens, is at the starting line of the 100-meter race in Berlin, and I'd like you to try to visualize this with me if you can. Owens is in the foreground with every other competitor lined up next to him. What's stunning in the photograph is his clear intensity of purpose and resolve. Of all the competitors reacting to that starter's gun, it's only Owens who has his head raised. His eyes are the only ones looking clearly and intently at the finish line ahead. In that image, and at that moment, Jesse Owens' demonstration of excellence, his dignity, his grace, determination, and years of hard work made him something much more than just another 21-year-old student from Ohio State. In that instant, and forever after, he was much more than the young man who was not permitted to live on campus, more than the son of sharecroppers who left Alabama seeking a better life, and more than the grandson of slaves. Jesse Owens was, simply and superbly, the world's finest runner and one incredible, extraordinary man. By demonstrating his excellence on the most public of stages, he's known around the world for disproving the most venomous racist assumptions about human ability. Now, I share that story with you not simply because he's a son of Cleveland, although obviously that should make it relevant, but more because it seems to me to define the nobility of purpose that's at the core of public education in this university, particularly at the university level. Education provides unparalleled opportunities to change lives, to change hearts, and to change minds. It assures us that our democracy will thrive. It moves us forward as a society, and it enables us to advance toward the larger ideals of liberty and equality. I'll close by saying this is a moment of truth for our state and a time for first-order change. Our role in business and our communities transcends today and it transcends tomorrow. Ohio is a place of vast intellectual capital. It has an enormous imagination among its citizens and manifest vitality. Our resources are without peer. And today, our calling, our charge, our moment of grace is to think and act in an integrated fashion where cooperation is the byword and not an exception. We must seek partners across all boundaries and must act quickly when opportunities arise. We must refresh ourselves, reignite ourselves, and be mindful of the eminence that is clearly within our grasp. Well, finally, I do want to thank you for joining me today and giving me an opportunity to explore some of these ideas with you. I think this is a particularly critical and important forum for that, and it's been a great privilege for me to speak with you this afternoon, and I know that Gordon is looking forward to doing that at another time as well. And with that, I'd simply like to start our discussions with any of your comments and your questions. Thank you very much.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are listening to a special forum featuring Dr. Joseph Alutto, Executive Vice President and Provost for The Ohio State University. We will return to our speaker momentarily for our traditional City Club questions. We encourage you to formulate questions for our speaker now and remind you that your questions should be brief and to the point. We remind you that members and guests alike are welcome to attend City Club forums and hope everyone listening will join the City Club. We hope you will join the City Club and become active in our ongoing civic dialogue. Please visit our website, cityclub.org, to see a full schedule of our upcoming programs. We welcome all of you here and those listening to WCPN 90.3, FM, WCLV, WTAM, or one of the many radio stations across the country. Our television partner is WVIZ PBS IdeaStream. Television broadcasts of the City Club are made possible by Cleveland State University and PNC. Our live webcast is supported by the University of Akron.